guys? It's your girl Aisha, aka geekxxchic, and we are back with another reaction to The Gifted. We are now on season 2, episode 6, which is called iMprint. Capital M, once again. So, last week we had quite a few things go down. Primarily, we got introduced to this meta that was broken out of the mental institution by the name of Rebecca. As I mentioned in the last episode, I am not 100% sure or confident that she's fully mentally stable. I feel like she could end up being a wild card in this plan of Reva's, but it's really too early to tell. But Andy's finally got his first love interest. I suppose it's fair. Lauren had hers last season. On the other side of things, we saw John really struggling with feeling like he's always failing and always failing the team, and he put himself through a lot of punishment last episode. And it was brought out to me, actually. I was watching a review of the episode on another channel, and they mentioned the fact that John's healing a lot slower, and I didn't really click into me because we've never actually seen John have to deal with major injuries before, but it's true. He seems to be healing a lot slower than usual, because we heard Blink say things like, I've never seen you get hurt. I didn't realize you could get hurt. So people are wondering if maybe John's powers are slowing down, and that could totally be the case if it's connected to how stressed and how kind of, I think, internally depressed that he is. But we'll see more, hopefully more of that, and get to talk about that later, hopefully sometime soon in the season. And of course, with Reid, all his stuff kind of got pushed to the back burner because of all the other stuff that was going on. So with this episode, I'm not sure what to expect. I'm hoping, like I said, to get back to a little bit more of the group of Team Underground, because they've really been getting knocked around this season, and they really do need to get a foothold as far as getting themselves together and figuring out how they're going to deal with this new threat of the Inner Circle. So without further ado, let's get into this episode, and we will chat about it afterwards, okay? Boop. Ooh, creepy flashback. I'm just thinking about this poor little actress having to shoot this 3 times.
He's so scared.
That's Esme.
Please don't make us.
That must be Esme.
For his family.
You know the rules, Esme. Do you care about his family?
Yeah. She's always had the conscience. Oh God, please spare me. It's about right.
What is it this time? Attacking a armored personnel carrier? A citywide chase?
I heard something about a SWAT team, actually.
You are terrible at folding, my dear. You need a maid. Get the helpers to help you.
I'm sorry, baby girl. Mama's gotta work.
She's so cute. You're just gonna leave her alone in the room like that, though? Okay, I don't think turning him inside out was quite necessary, but alright.
I'll make this real simple for you. Either tell me what this little operation is, or I'm out.
Ooh, okay. Got a peacock in front of Reva. Interesting.
You wanted that girl, Rebecca. We are one step closer to Andy.
I'm so over it. Okay, Reid, can you just stop touching things? I know it's hard, but
Sure,
just
you're gonna be okay without me tomorrow. He's still
24/7, like this.
The side effects are getting worse.
Can't we just change the dose?
Honey, I know you want this.
Can you put me in a coma, please?
I don't see how training can help. It's just something that happens.
Just try.
I don't know, maybe you should listen to the person who's been a mutant for a lot longer than you have, Reid. Maybe. Careful with them hands, Reid. I'm just, seriously. KB just gambling with her life and stuff. Oh, I like this two-way spyglass. Yes, Lauren, click that intel. Okay, but for real, where's Lauren getting her nails done so well? She's supposed to be dead and all. Interesting.
Good.
Who?
Because if anything goes wrong, suffice it to say that the fallout from me will be nothing compared to the consequences for you.
Who's she answering to? Okay, that's creepy. Get out of the baby's head. You know what I would have loved more, actually, is if the baby somehow repelled her. How cool would that be?
Focus on a time your powers manifested. How you felt when you crashed the car with Lauren.
Mm-hmm. There we go, triggers. Go. Trigger time. Can't touch this. Seriously.
We have to stand together with the mutant underground, especially now.
Ooh, that's some bad CGI. Hey, Shatter, what's up? It's been a minute, bro.
Too bad this is what it takes to get your ugly mugs up here.
Ha, hey.
I appreciate it, but I'll work for it in my way.
Okay, Reid, that's going so well for you. Somebody gonna lose a whole body part before Reid starts to listen, and I'm not about it. And if it's John, so...
I saw a monster. So, I tried to kill it. I didn't put out the lights, but I cracked the windows a bit.
Oh.
I guess sometimes the more you reject the things you can't face, the worse you make it.
Tell that truth, Shatter. Why are you not there more often? I like you.
It's personal. For me. And my sisters.
Oh.
Reid Financial funded the lab that created us.
Oh.
Created you,
Truth.
my sisters and I.
Clones. Say it.
We're clones.
Boom. Cuckoos.
They say we stormed the castle. We're not storming anything. We're not here for blood.
Okay, listen, Jace. You can't sit on the fence, dude. Hallow what?
We're the good guys here.
Okay, Jace. Keep telling yourself that.
But don't ever make me drink chamomile again.
Okay. I'm actually not hating this because this might be the uprising we need within the inner circle.
Don't lie to me. I didn't mean any harm. She was upset and I...
Why would you ever wear metal around her?
Tell me even real.
I was about to say, you're still on the same floor, Lorna.
Why don't I go get my notes?
She's about to alert somebody. Nuh-uh. She ain't coming back.
Something's wrong.
Yep. Okay, girl.
Tell me about Rebecca Hoover.
All right, taking a page out of Mama's crazy book.
We were wrong.
What kind of Sims pixelation's happening right now?
That's how I knew you weren't Rebecca's family. That's how she killed them too.
Oh, I was right. Rebecca's crazy. Good, Andy deserves her. QM. Girl, you got time to be dating with all this while Lorna's got to be split up from her man? You got a nerve, Reba. Oh, great. There's our way out. All right,
I
Reid.
can help with them all. Okay, well, we're
Time to step up.
guys outside.
Come on, bro.
My body can handle most small arms fire.
No.
And it's the only chance we got.
No. Reid, please. No, not Shatter.
Okay, 3.
I think we're going to lose Shatter and I'm not ready. Oh, thank God. But hurry up, keep going. Oh my God, if this kid dies, I can't handle this episode right now, guys. Too much is happening. No!
Shatter!
Good job, Reid. Too late! So mad. Why is John...
We didn't start off as triplets.
Esme, Phoebe, Sophie, report for duty.
During our exercises,
Has Horizon 5?
they kept 2 of us. I want you to know that whether or not you join this fight, I'm on your side.
Yes, team up! They just have that one clip of the baby, always just going, yes, tell me, child. Could they only rent the baby for like 5 minutes? Oh no, how are you? Oh no, it's too fresh, no. Shadow, you did not deserve this, yo.
You did it, bud.
Anyway.
It is not on you to bring Auntie back.
Or you.
It's on me.
Oh God.
And bring him back myself.
I'm so over this bring him back nonsense, y'all. What part of he made a choice do you not get? So we need to put Reid in a corner.
Don't come any closer.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I can't make it stop.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, wow. Damn, y'all. That was such a good episode. That was good. That is one of the better ones we've had this season. Yep, liked it. We had stuff happening. We had plot movement. We had action. We had stakes. Yes, this was a good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed and I approve. The show just keeps getting better and better. Okay, so that was iMprint. And there's a few things we could apply that to. We could start with that scar of Esme's. She's been imprinted forever by Marco, but I think it's a lot more than that. But the whole idea of an imprint is leaving a lasting impression, kind of marking something permanently. And a lot of people were marked or changed in a way completely different, like for life, I guess you could say, after this episode. And oh, there was just so much that went on that was so good. So I wrote down notes, which I'm so glad I did, because a lot happened in this episode. Like, we had a lot of plot points. Considering how slow last week's episode was in comparison, this one was like, it just picked up the pace and ran with it. So let's start with the Cuckoos, I guess, because that's where we started the episode, with the Stepford Cuckoos, the girls. And it was great to finally see their backstory. Like, obviously, if you're a comic fan, you know their backstory, but the show's really been very quiet about how they came to be. They've never actually admitted they were clones on screen before, even though, like I said, the fans of the comic knew that. But that's the first time that Esme's told anyone, I think, outside of Reva, who must have known already, that they're clones. Now, they did not drop the name Emma Frost, I noticed, but that may be because they don't have the rights to do that. But I don't know. It makes me wonder if they know who they're cloned from. Yeah, I don't know if this is something that they knew or was ever told to them, or if they just kind of came to be and have never been told by that doctor, who I don't think we got a name for him, who was training them to basically be what do you call them? Psychological warriors, I guess. But it was really great to see why they are the way that they are. And that there were 5 of them. Like, again, I don't know if that's canon. So for those of you who are aficionados of the comics, please let me know below if it's canon that there were 5 of them to begin with. Because I think I only heard of there ever being 3, but maybe I'm wrong. But interestingly, it was kind of cool to find out about that. But also, I think what this really was more than anything was an origin story for Esme. Because she's the one we focused on. She's the one we saw first last season. She's the one who stayed with the underground. And then again, this season, we've seen she's the one who seems to be faltering when it comes to doing the things that are, I guess they pass the line of morality for her. I mean, clearly she doesn't really care about killing people. She will kill if she has to. She has no issues killing those who she feels are either a danger to her or sisters or to mutants. But in this particular case with manipulating Lorna, or the case with that man who wanted to protect his children in that flashback, Esme does have a compass in there. It's a little skewed, a little bit crazy, but it basically tells us that deep down she does know that some behavior is wrong and that there are lines she doesn't want to cross. And it seems like she's the only one, again, we don't know about the other 2 that died, out of who's left, Esme seems to be the only one who's maintained some level of conscience, about just going too far with their powers and hurting people. So we see that it's been a constant thing, particularly, I guess, since they joined Reva, because when they were yelling at her for getting caught with the lullaby in her head, they both said, like, you've been getting feelings all over the place, and then you let Marco burn you, and what's going on with you? So clearly the other 2 know that Esme is not on board as much as they are, that she's faltering. But again, I think the reason they haven't really said anything to Reva about this, because that was my worry, is maybe they might go to Reva and be like, hey, Esme's not on board here. One is that I do think the twins or the triplets all do care about each other equally, but also because since Esme, from this flashback, we see that she's always been this way. They probably don't think it's necessarily different for her to be the one who falters when it comes to doing the harder, more morally gray things. So overall, though, it was really cool to see a little bit more of how they came up, how they finally broke free of, I guess, this Creed. The bank was called Creed. I don't know if the name of the company was also Creed, but that's how they broke free, and that they've basically been on their own since they were 13. But that makes me wonder where they went after that. I have to say, I did like that speech that she gave Lorna at the end, which was clearly heartfelt, because Lorna's got a pretty good bullshit detector. So she was very honest in that moment with Lorna, where she was like, I would never hurt you, and I would never hurt the baby especially. Like, I have this desire to preserve this beautiful family that you 2 have, which is something that me and my sisters never had, because we were literally created in a lab. We never had a normal experience, which kind of explains obviously why her sisters are so indifferent to emotions and connections with people. So that was a really great moment, and I really liked seeing Lorna and Esme bonding in this episode, because as we saw with Lorna, who we're going to talk about in a minute, she's having issues. And I mentioned, I think in the last review, that she's been getting a lot of these side looks and a lot of these little pensive moments that says to me that Lorna is not maybe as on board as she thought she was, or that she's starting to really doubt some of Riva's intentions with this whole plan that she's got going on. So if that continues, which I believe it's going to, because Lorna clearly does not truly trust Riva. She trusts the vision, I believe, but not necessarily trusts Riva. She needs an ally. If it comes down to having to topple Riva at some point, she's going to need somebody else on her side, because she will not be able to do it alone, especially having the vulnerability of her baby there. So I like that we saw this. I think I called it in episode 2 that I could see Esme and Lorna ending up being the Trojan horse that ends up ripping apart the inner circle from the inside, but not necessarily to go back to the underground, but I could see potentially Lorna taking over and running with the vision that Riva had, at least initially, but then changing it to be more of what she wants. So anyway, that was a great overall introduction to who the Cuckoos are and the story that they've had up until this point. And I also like the fact that, you know, with Esme having the handprint on her arm, the burn from Marcos, it kind of is an outside symbol of what we know as an audience, that she is different than the other three. Like the fact that she's got the one marking that now distinguishes the three of them apart, and now they always wear the same clothes because obviously they don't want people to know who's who, but it's very symbolic that the show did that, like have Esme be marked as someone different than her sisters and markedly apart from them now. Like it's just one more thing that's made her a little bit different than the other two, and which also tells me that she's probably the only one who's going to survive this season. I have a sneaking suspicion that the other two aren't gonna make it, and she's gonna be just fine with that. Quick note about Lauren with the dream with Andy. Now that it's clearly some sort of lucid mental connection that the two of them have, I'm hoping that Lauren gets smart enough at some point, or somebody, because so far she's only told her parents about this dream thing that she has with Andy. I think she needs to tell the group at large so that they come up with the idea that we saw in her dream she was able to go over and see what was going on at the underground, but more importantly, she saw the safe. She saw it turned inside out. She touched it. You know, I'm not sure what it means that she's able to be physically hurt, but that is very dangerous, because that could potentially mean that Andy would be able to hurt her from wherever he is, which bothers me. But digressing, the point is it's a two-way mirror that allows Lauren to see what's going on. They've been sitting here trying to figure out, oh, what's going on with the underground? What's going on with the inner circle? I wonder what's going on with hello? Lauren is the spy. Now, unfortunately, this is a two-way street, but if Andy doesn't figure that out right away, and he's not very bright, let's be real, but the downside is Andy would totally tell Riva about it. But until that happens, if Lauren was smart, she'd use this to get intel. Dreamwalk the hell out of Andy's mind. And what I'd love is if there's a way for her to somehow get into Andy's subconscious to like hear conversations he's had with Riva or memories he has. Like it could be really powerful if Lauren can figure out a way to manipulate it. And this is the one and only time I'll ever say this. I kind of wish Dreamer was still alive, just for this reason, because Dreamer is someone I feel like could probably help Lauren navigate something like that, or join Lauren in a dream like that and be able to navigate herself and figure things out. But anyway, since that's not going to happen, I really do hope that Lauren figures that out. And I do hope that her whole thing about, oh, maybe Andy's right, is just a temporary moment of her feeling a little overwhelmed with the whole situation with Andy being stronger and being so sure of himself. They've had a lot of knocks in the underground, and again, this is why I keep saying it's so important that the underground gets their crap together and gets a mission and gets themselves together, because right now the reason why what Andy is saying sounds like it makes sense is because the underground is in such shambles and there's no real clear direction or purpose or wins, I guess you could say, that are happening on that side. So it's kind of shaking everyone's confidence, including John, who's the leader. And obviously, you know, attitudes in a group are reflected by the leadership. And if John's not really believing in himself or this purpose right now, it will ripple effect into everybody else. And so obviously with the big loss I just took with all those mutants that were taken in, it's going to have a very adverse effect on a lot of their mentality, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Most importantly, I hope she really understands unequivocally that Andy essentially said unequivocally that he will hurt her and the rest of the family if that's what he has to do to make this happen. So I'm really hoping she takes that to heart. It does seem like she has, But being, I guess, a true big sister, seeing that Rebecca is crazy, I was right about her. She wants to save Andy from that because she knows boys are dumb and that they don't necessarily listen to anything above the waist when there's a girl involved. So she knows that he's probably going to end up dead if he keeps hanging out with this girl. And it's funny that she kind of figured out almost right away that Andy would be the most in danger by this girl. She knows her brother. She knows his type. I bet you it's not the first crazy girl he's liked either. Let's talk about Reid, I guess. Let's take a little talk about him. Reid. I really need Reid to stop with this whole I don't want to deal with my powers nonsense. It's not working. Okay, that part is abundantly clear that whatever he is doing is not working. He's taken all the pills that he can stand, and his powers still come through when he's really, really stressed. Kate thankfully came in with some logic and was like, dude, you cannot drug this away. Like, you basically want me to put you in a coma because it's the only way that you're gonna be drugged up enough not to have your powers kick in. I need you to figure this out because, you know, you're around me, we sleep in the same bed. I kind of don't want to disintegrate in my sleep. So please get this under control. John tries his best to try to teach him that, like, you gotta learn how to turn the powers on so you know how to turn them off. Reid's all, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to do this my own way. I want to do it my way, guys. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. Child, please. What is it with this family with being so stubborn about the stupidest things? It's like inherent, every last one of them. It's so frustrating. But I really hope at some point, especially after the way the episode ended with Reid just losing it, apparently he cannot turn it off now, disintegrating things all, like, I mean, they pull right now. They ain't got nothing, and Reid be still destroying the bed, the end table, like everything. He needs to figure this out. But I feel like this had to happen. Like, I'm glad no one was immediately hurt by it, but he had to have that happen for him to finally understand that he cannot keep ignoring this and that he can't keep suppressing. That whole moment that he had with Shatter, which, Shatter, I'm gonna get to you in a minute. That whole moment with Shatter, which I think was actually really well played that they brought him in. I mean, sadly, they only brought him in to kill him, but of all people who would kind of understand Reid's issue more than anyone, Shatter is one of those people because he is a mutant where his powers are manifested through touch, right? So the only people who would really understand what Reid is going through kind of on the best level would be like Shatter. I'm trying to think of other Marvel characters, like Rogue would be a great person to talk to him, although she doesn't have the option of turning it off. But anyone else who basically understands that, you know, how destructive it can be to have a power that is affected by touch especially. So I'm glad that they brought Shatter in for that because Reid could not look at him and be like, you don't know what I'm going through. Do you know what I mean? Because Shatter, like, told him, like, I loved hearing his story. I mean, it's in the comics, but again, hearing him articulate it on screen about how he literally woke up one morning, he'd physically changed to look very different than he ever had, and then everything he touched was turning into, what do you call it, glass? And he just didn't know what to do. He thought he was a monster. Obviously, he probably felt danger, as like he was a danger to his family. And as we saw, he unfortunately tried to take his own life. And his skin saved his life, but it did do damage. I love the expression. What did he say? I didn't put the lights out, but I cracked a few windows. Whew. That was deep. But yeah, talking about Reid, and basically came back and said, listen, dude, you have to deal with this. Like, I let it fester too much, and this is what happened to me. Don't let it get to this point for you. You have a family. Like, don't do this. You need to deal with this. You need to deal with your emotions, and you need to accept that you are a mutant. You always have been a mutant. And as John said, his dad robbed him of being able to deal with this when he would have been young and a teenager. And again, if Reid had grown up with these powers, he would have much better control over it because he would have figured them out. Hopefully without killing too many people or hurting people in the process. He was robbed of that, and now he's got his pride and his ego and all these other things that are kind of interfering with him being able to really accept this. Of course, as well as the prejudices that he held for so long against mutants. So I need him to get his act together. Really and truly, it was cool to see that he managed to pull it together enough to melt that wall to help them escape, but it had to be at the sacrifice of Shatter? Yo! I mean, I know we haven't seen him since season 1, but I liked his character, and I love seeing what he could do towards the end of season 1. I'm just mad, y'all. That was an unnecessary death. And why was Marcos only doing like a little half beam? Like, he could have flashed everybody out there. He could have lasered the car. He could have lasered the truck to explode. Like, he could have done so much more. And I guess I know they don't hurt the humans, but in that particular situation, like, we had to sacrifice Shatter. As soon as he said, oh, don't worry, I can take like a few bullets. I'm like, yeah, 1 or 2. But if they're gonna be emptying round after round after round into you, dude, you're gonna give up at some point. Like, Oh, I'm so mad. And I'm not at all shocked that Jace was the one to take the kill shot. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Dude, if I had a drink, I'd pour it out for you, Shatter. You didn't deserve to go out like that. But, so that was Reid. He needs to get his act together, and I think they're definitely going to have to make that. I was asking though, I mean, at the beginning of this episode, I said, I really think they need to deal with this whole thing with Reid. They can't keep pushing it back. Obviously now they can't because he can't turn it off. He turned it on all right, but now he can't find the off switch. So next episode, I'm hoping they've got to dedicate Reid's got to dedicate nothing but his time. No, I didn't say that right. Reid's got to dedicate his time to nothing but getting a handle on his powers. On to Jace. Well, Jace. I don't really have too much to say about him. I mean, not much has changed since the last episode as far as him joining the Purifiers, but the biggest thing that I saw with his story in this episode was that he's trying to play the fence in a hate group. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to sit there and white knight an army of darkness. Doesn't work that way, Jace. You'll learn that it doesn't work that way. That whole interchange between him and the redneck with the automatic weapon, that is such a metaphor for this whole idea that Jace thinks that he can join the Purifiers to get his back up and not get his hands dirty. He had that as somewhat of an option with Sentinel Services, but he kind of learned even with them that you couldn't play both sides of the fence, right? Because even Sentinel Services, he was rounding up these mutants, he was sending them off to the facilities and then just basically turning a blind eye. But then when he finally found out what they were doing, he was all like, oh, maybe that kind of sucks. But he didn't really stop. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Jace has got to figure out where he is with all of this. He can't, this whole him trying to play the middle of, I'm not really a bad guy. Like he even said, we're the good guys. No, Jace, they're not. They're a hate group. You sitting there in that big speech saying, we don't want to be shown as the hate group. We want to be shown as the heroes. No, you're a hate group. And anyone with sense is going to realize you're a hate group. It doesn't matter how you try to paint your mission. They're a hate group because there are people in there who hate mutants. So that is a hate group. A group of people who all hate the same thing is the literal definition of a hate group. So Jace trying to justify, obviously trying to clear his own conscience because he knows, like his wife knows, that he's going off the deep end where mutants are concerned. But he's just sitting here trying to play this fence, you know, of, oh, we're not gonna go too far. We just wanna round the mutants up. Like, to what end, Jace? You round these mutants up, you know what happens to them. Jace doesn't have the luxury of ignorance like he did in season 1 when he didn't realize what Sentinel Services was doing to them when he had them locked up. He knows now. He knows of the government experiments on them, that they're falsely thrown into mental institutions, that they're abused, that they are assaulted. He knows all of that. So him trying to justify it by saying, oh, I didn't kill them, I just sent them away, to be unlawfully punished for being born a way that they can't, like, that they couldn't choose or change. Like, it's just, I need Jace to stop. It's so annoying. People like him are honestly the worst. Like, if you're gonna hate mutants, I prefer little redneck Jeb there with his automatic weapon. Yeah, he's a raging a-hole, but at least he is honest about who he is. He hates mutants and he wants them all dead. Pure and simple as is. It ain't right, but at least we know where he stands and at least he is on a side. This whole thing with Jace, literally in that camp, but trying to pretend that he's an angel of mercy and he's just doing the right thing is just garbage. And I love how at the end, that guy who recruited him is like, you're one of us now, brother, don't you worry. You've done the right thing. You're one of us, right? That's what, and Jace had the nerve to scowl like, yes, you are, Jace. You are no better than any of the people in that group. You killed a mutant that you knew was only defending himself. You're sitting there talking about, don't make me do this, when he was turning that man into glass. That man had pumped how many bullets right into his face? But that's okay. But suddenly it's wrong when that mutant defends himself, right? Such a comparison to what life is like for so many groups in this world today. Don't need to get into it, but y'all know what I'm talking about. The show is always very good about giving those comparisons of real life situations and putting them in the mutant world. So yeah, Jace, I can't with you. I can't. Just accept that you're evil, and at least that way I can like deal with you as a villain and respect you there. But this wishy-washy nonsense, I don't feel for you, Jace. I don't empathize with you anymore. You've made a choice. You know it was a hate group and you joined anyway. So don't start acting like you're somehow better than these folks, because you're not. So I'm just wondering how long it'll be, and I'm hoping it'll be soon that he either just decides to join this and accept it. Other than that, we didn't have too much else happen. I think the biggest thing that I thought was interesting was, I kind of thought that Reva was heading things up Like, after she killed the members of the inner circle, I kind of thought that she didn't have any bosses anymore, but it looks like she does. It looks like she might have some people she's answering to, because whoever she talked to on the phone about having whatever ready, she said, you know, if you think the repercussions for me are going to be bad, it's going to be even worse for you. So who would have repercussions to give to Riva? We already know she's pretty badass, so who out there is more powerful than she is? That is a great question. And a little terrifying. But it looks like there are some other people involved, some other bosses. I feel like nobody who's in this group here, and like the triplets and obviously Lorna, I don't think anyone else knows that there's somebody else she's answering to at this point, but I'm very curious to know who that is and what kind of a role they're going to play, or if they're going to play a role this season. I have a feeling we're not going to be introduced to that person until the very end of this. Maybe another Omega level mutant of some kind. I'd be interested in seeing that if that's the case. And we also saw her texting someone with the initials QM. So if any of you guys out there have any ideas of who that could be, please leave that below. I mean, there's just way too many potential characters out there, I think, for me to even begin to Google search that with just those two initials. Who do you think it is? It looked like she's having a romantic relationship with whoever this is, because dinner and can't wait. And I mean, again, it could just be business knowing Riva, but I have a sneaking suspicion she's got a little love going on. And how interesting would it be if Riva had a human lover? Just because I like things messy, how funny would it be if after all that she's doing and all she's saying and making these kids sacrifice, that she had a human lover? But any ideas who QM is, please leave that below. And then the only other thing we saw, of course, is that Rebecca is crazy. As I mentioned, I was right. I saw that smile in the last episode, and I'm like, this girl is not okay. And I think, again, that she's more cray-cray than even Riva recognizes. I feel like she's gonna play along and be the happy member of the family in this group until someone pisses her off. And once that happens, we're gonna see the real Rebecca start to show. Now, again, Riva will probably be able to contain her powers. Maybe. I would love to see Andy get into a really twisted relationship with this girl. Just like stuck with this psycho girl that like threatens to turn him inside out anytime he tries to leave. Just because Andy deserves it. Yeah, I said it. He's annoying me. We'll see. She might actually love Andy and not ever hurt him, but I just don't see that happening. If she killed her own family, I really don't think she's gonna have any issues with trying to kill Andy. But like I said, guys, all in all, a great episode. So much stuff happened, so many interesting things. The pacing, like, it picked up so much more since last episode, and we are further along as far as we have the underground put in a place now where they have to make some changes. They lost so many people in that raid. Mutants are gonna hear about this. It's gonna cause more tension. They're gonna have to do something. Something's gotta change. Something's gotta give. And I'm hoping this is gonna be what the wake-up call that John and Groot needs to finally start getting their act together and figure out what they're gonna do. Because the underground, as it stands right now, is basically gone. So they don't really have that to focus on anymore. So now, hopefully with that big raid and the underground out of the way at the moment, this will leave them the space that they need to focus fully on the inner circle and stopping whatever it is that Riva is planning, because it's most likely just going to make things a lot worse for mutants everywhere, especially those who don't want to live in whatever dream place that Riva has planned. But that's it for the episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching with me. What did you think about it? How do you feel about this whole idea of Rebecca being the wild card on the other side? And do you think she actually will snap? Please leave your comments below. And if you like this video, guys, please click like. And if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya.